That was very good. I can see why he would like it. It's very animated. It brings out the little boy in me too, for sure. I can. I have no doubt that I see why he would like it. I can see him jamming out with it. We mentioned her. It's cool. I never really have heard you talk about it. You've done so many interviews. I mean, you kind of must get so routine having to talk about all this stuff about your life. But your mom is where you got the. Right? It's where you learned to talk a little bit about where it came from and just about like your first. Because when I think about him and getting all excited as you play that, what were similar moments, if you can recall, that made you feel, or was it a different approach she had that got you locked with that instrument?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, my mom used to play all the time, so naturally I just kind of I was curious, but she had an old kamaka, an old kamaka ukulele, and so when I was really young, like when I was my son's age, she would not let me near her ukulele. She'd be like, "No, don't touch it." She would put it way up on the top. So it wasn't until I was about 4 years old that she finally trusted me to hold the instrument, and I guess that's why for me, I mean, when my son was like 6 months and he could already crawl, I would leave an ukulele by him, and he would just like crawl up to it and just kind of tap it, and and hit the strings, and I think so. From an early age, I already let him, be very hands-on with the instrument. And then I also had, we have like little percussion toys and like little toy pianos that he would kind of play around with.
So a more hands-on approach than how she had it. She had a more
Yeah.
studious approach to your learning it.
I don't know about studious, but yeah, she definitely waited until I was older. And that's why I told myself, from the beginning, I don't care what it is. If he has an interest in it, I just said, if he has an interest in it, I want to expose him to it. I want to show him that, okay, I trust that you will be respectful. And I mean, I don't let him, if he does something where like he just throws the ukulele down, or if he hits it or something, of course I scold him, to teach him early on to really respect the instrument. But yeah, he doesn't do that. I mean,
He could be like a little Pete Townsend, though. He'll start wailing him.
Yeah.
Bust him up on you.
Well, the funny thing is, the other day, he had what was it, like a spoon? I think he had like a small wooden spoon, like a toy spoon, and he had his ukulele, and he was like using the spoon, and he was hitting the strings, like this. And at first I was gonna scold him, but then I stopped. I caught myself and I stopped because I was like, I don't know, like, hey, that might be a new way to play the uke. One day he might just have the spoon, and but it sounded cool. Like he was just bouncing the spoon against the strings, and he was getting a sound. And so I thought, oh, yeah, I should try that too. Because when I was a kid, I would experiment with all kinds of stuff. I remember I had like this, like one of those small electric nail files, that has a grinder on it. It's a small thing like this, and there's a grinder on it. Yeah, a little wheel, and you turn it on. So I did this thing where I glued like 7 or 8 flat picks to the
wheel?
that wheel thing. And I would turn it on and I would put it against my uke. So it made like this really fast tremolo, like that.
Like on a bicycle with
cards
and wheels.
Exactly. And I would hold a note down and just put it close to the string, but it was just too noisy. But
those are cool things that you let your child do that, because that is where stuff might.
And that's what kind of
Who was it? Jeff Beck. I remember I've seen a lot of guitarists use screws, like electric.
That was Van Halen.
Yeah,
Van Halen used power drill. Power drill next to electronic pickups. Jimmy Page used the violin bow. So there's really no.
Chase might be using a spoon.
Yeah, you never know. So it was just funny because I had that moment, like I was gonna scold him and, hey, don't do it. That's not how to play the ukulele. I almost said that, and then I caught myself. I was like, well, as long as he's not damaging the instrument, so I let him experiment with it a little bit more, and
That's
I don't know, just be open to it. Yeah.
So you got this thing. It's this weekend. Everyone's excited. You want to say anything about it? I know you like to have surprises. Surprises are fun. No one likes to ruin people's surprises.
No,
so is there anything about it? I know you got the cat some Pure Heart, I guess it is. You guys are doing a little thing with other things on the deck that you want to kind of tease. Or?
Well, I'm really excited because this is my third annual Friend Show. It's at the Blaisdell, and the cool thing is all of the guest performers, the guest artists, they've all had a very significant role in my career. Of course, there's the Side Order Band that consists of Chris Kamaka of Kamaka Ukuleles, which I've had a long relationship with them forever. I wouldn't be playing the ukulele today if it weren't for them. But Chris Kamaka, Del Beasley, who just a huge fan of, he's just an incredible musician. Brian Tolentino, great ukulele player, and Asa Young, another great musician, rhythm guitar player. But the first time I went to Japan, before I even had a touring career in Japan, the first time I went to Japan was back in 2000. It was either end of 99 or early 2000, but I went with them. It was with the Side Order Band. With those four guys, we went to Japan, and I was kind of their opener. And I tell you, till this day, that's probably my favorite trip, to Japan or to anywhere. It was such a turning point in my career, because at that time, in 2000, I was getting pretty out there, like experimenting, with the ukulele. I mean, I was doing very obnoxious things, and it got to a point where I think I was just trying to do different things just to do different things, not really being musical about it, but just like, oh, it's cool, I'm going to add this and do this
more
and this
on the
and this.
experimentation.
Yeah, just more to see, like more is more kind of thing, right? But during that trip, I remember when they played their opening set, and I mean, I just sat there and listened to those four guys harmonize, play their instruments, and they really, at that moment, I just, it taught me to really appreciate, my roots and the roots of the instrument. It made me go back to why I started playing this ukulele in the first place, and go back to like all of the ukulele albums that I grew up listening to, all the things that inspired me and fueled me, going back to like Eddie Kamai, his Heart of Ukulele album, all the Peter Moon records, Jesse Kalima, Eddie Bush, Gordon Mark, all these, all the greats, right? And I think at that moment I realized, like, yeah, you know what? I think it's great to, it's cool to be innovative and all that. I mean, I think it's necessary, sometimes to be innovative, but you always have to respect tradition. And that's when I realized, like, you know what? No matter what I do, as long as I have one foot rooted in tradition, and to pay my respect to the instrument, to the culture, the traditions of the instrument, and where it came from.
And by way of the show, the people who helped you.
Yeah, so so the guys at Side Order Band, they reminded me of that,
right.
and I'm just so grateful for the friendship that I have with them, and they are truly my favorite Hawaiian group. I mean, I just can't wait for people to hear them, because they rarely get to play together, the four of them, because Asa lives in North Carolina, and and all three of them are out doing, they're playing with other people. Chris Kamaka is in Ho'okana, Brian Tolentino, he plays with Raiatea Helm, he plays with so many different artists, and Del Beasley, I mean, he's all over the place, right? He's got his own solo career, but he was out with Teresa Bright doing, stuff with Iz, and so I think this is a very rare opportunity, to hear them as a four-piece, and I'm just excited. They're going to blow people out of the way, because most people have not heard them together, and they grew up playing together, and they're all best of friends, and and when you hear their arrangements, their groove and their harmonies and the way they play together is so magical. So they're going to be there. I also have Nolo Kimoto and Dean Taba, and they were very significant for me because when I started my solo career, they really helped me. They really mentored me and helped me to develop myself as a solo artist, musically and just just the approach. They gave me a lot of guidance, and even till this day, I mean, I learned so much from those two guys. They're just so they're great role models and mentors for me. And then the third guest is kind of after 14 years, I'll be reuniting with my very first band, Pure Heart, and with John Yamasato and Lopaka Cologne. And this is really special to me because, those two guys were probably my biggest influences musically, growing up, because John and I started playing together in high school. And we really influenced each other. So that was basically my foundation. They helped they set my foundation for me, and I think like everything that I did after that, was just built upon that foundation. So the interesting thing was a couple months ago when we had our first rehearsal, we got together. And, we're just kind of like just catching up, talking story, because we're all dads now too, right? So it's a completely different thing. But it was 14 years ago since we did our last performance, which was at Don Ho's. And so there we were. We were kind of nervous because we were like, oh man, you still remember the songs or what? Yeah, we were just kind of talking. But we picked up our instruments, and the first song we played was a song called "Bring Me Your Cup." It's an old UB40 song that we recorded on our first album, and it was just. And we just played it. And after it was done, we just kind of looked at each other and we were like, wow, that was cool. It was like we just played, the weekend before or something. It was like we never stopped playing together.
Right,
and
14 years apart or whatever.
And then we just kind of looked at each other and we were like, man, this is pretty magical, and I don't know, man, we're just so excited. I mean, I'm so thrilled, like having all of them there.
Yeah.
And we're just gonna have a great time, on Friday and just play and hopefully the people that come will enjoy it.
A lot of elements of your foundations in one place. It's great. It's cool that you give back like that, to walk through memory lane, and it reminds you where you came from, like you said. Mm-hmm. All the right reasons to do something like that. Want to play a final tune before I send you on your way?
Sure, yeah, all right. Okay, so talking about tradition, here's one of my favorite traditional Hawaiian pieces, and probably one of the first songs I learned on the ukulele. But this was inspired by the old Sons of Hawaii, and a song called Hi'ilave.
Okay. Jake Shimabukuro, I really appreciate it, brother. It's always nice sounds, a lot of cool stuff you even had to say. I learned some things today like I thought I might. I appreciate it. Hope this wasn't a hassle.
Oh, no, no, thank you. It's always a pleasure. Always great to catch up with you and talk with you, and appreciate your support always.
Well,
Yeah.
glad to. You're welcome for all that and continued success. And we'll have you back in and do another thing somewhere down the road.
All right, sounds good, man. All right.
Aloha.
Keep supporting Hawaii Public Radio. Aloha.